Hi, this is Jasper's Drive Time. You're watching a special edition this week. We're going to be doing a sole focus on the case of Gwenton Sloley. You've seen part one, you'll have seen part two, where we highlight the kind of police corruption and practices that led to false charges and intimidation and arrest of Gwenton Sloley, one of Britain's most foremost youth violence practitioners. And I'm here with Gwenton Sloley for this one-off Lee Jasper Drive Time exclusive.
Hi, my name's Lee Jasper. This is Brixton, London, and you're watching Lee Jasper Drive Time.
Gwenton, thanks for joining us today. Now, we've covered your story in the past. It starts in August 2018 with the death of Joel Urhie, a 7-year-old boy who dies as a consequence of an arson attack on his family home. Just tell us a little bit about the circumstances that gave rise to that death and why this case is so critical to what then happens to you.
Well, because of the legal proceedings, we could only talk about some of it. But the family's been known to us from 2014, so Joe would have been about 3 or 4 at the time. And we were engaging with the older brother. After speaking to him, I then found out that he was being blackmailed to sign up to things that he didn't want to sign up to. As a result, the family didn't receive the protection that a normal family would once they're at risk.
So they were being blackmailed by the Metropolitan Police Service?
Well, some people were blackmailing him. We wouldn't know who that is until we get his side of the story.
Okay.
But he was being blackmailed to sign up to things that he didn't want to sign up to. And in return, if he done what he was told to do, he would have got protection.
So this family was left unprotected.
Yeah.
The mother did complain and did seek protection from statutory agencies and services. Why wasn't that forthcoming?
Yeah, she actually went in there with young Joel 4 days before and cried out for help. And just to show you that the agencies knew that she was at risk, they let her out the fire exit. If you didn't think the family was at risk, why wouldn't you let them leave out the normal door? But they just played it down and thought it was just another fake cry for help. And then 4 days after, young Joel ends up dying in his bedroom.
So Lewisham Council, Lewisham Safeguarding Partnerships, the police, everybody there is in some way bearing some responsibility for that child's death.
Well, definitely.
And you were the one to blow the whistle on the whole thing because the death so impacted you that your conscience couldn't allow you to keep silent.
Yeah, my whole thing was, I'm here to help people. I'm not here to cover up corruption or be a part of it. And when you see a young boy or a baby at 7-year-old end up losing his life because of people not doing their job properly and then everyone turning a blind eye, I couldn't just sit by and watch that. I had to say something.
And so you did say something.
Yeah.
What was the consequence of you blowing the whistle on what was this critical failure of safeguarding that led ultimately to the death of this 7-year-old boy?
It was 2 years of absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. 2 years of it.
And you 2 years you were subsequently raided. Your home was raided.
Yeah.
That was the start of it. You were raided. Your place of abode, your home was smashed up.
Yeah.
They even interfered with your gas boiler for some strange reason, leaving it faulty. That could have resulted in another tragic accident. And not only were your home smashed up, but a few days later, although did the police deny that they'd raided your home?
Yeah, at first they said they didn't know who it was. And because I went back there, saw my boiler hanging off, saw my gas meter had been tampered with, my air vent had been tampered with, panels around the gas pipe had been tampered with, everything it just looked like a booby trap property. That's the only way I could explain it. The whole place just looked like it was just ready to go.
And people who have seen your story on our other films of you, your interviews, previous interviews, will know that you were subsequently arrested yet again. You're out in your car with your family.
Yeah.
There's still no real explanation of why your home's been raided in the first place. You're out a number of days later with your family in your car, and what happens?
It wasn't even a number of days, it was 3 months.
Yeah.
So 3 months after, I'm driving, minding my own business, and then the next thing you know, police are jumping out at me in army-style blue clothes with checkered hats on that look like armed police, telling me, we need the keys to your car, we need to search your house. But 3 months ago, they told me not to return back to the same property. So I was a bit confused. If you told me not to return there because my life's at risk, why would you then be asking me for the keys to raid the same property again? The whole thing was just so bizarre. They had my engine number on their paper. They come for my laptops, my hard drive, every single thing that I had at the time, they removed it. Even my children's phones, they took some of them, even though I told them they were my children's phones. They still took them, went with my children's iPods, all sorts of stuff they took from my house. My letters to get me into debt, and then after they got me into 3 months debt, they said, oh, you could kindly have back some of your posts. I'm already in 3 months debt. What could I do about that? So the whole thing was, it was more intimidation than anything else.
And during the 3 months between the first raid and your and the hard stop, if you like, in your car, were you still working and dealing with dangerous criminals and moving them?
Yeah, I was still at work, moving murderers and all other people, and everyone just said to me, carry on with your job. Even when I contacted the investigating officer and said, why am I being attacked? He then said to me, it's nothing to do with him. What's going on with you is above me. So it was like I had different teams attacking me at the same time, but all using the same excuse why I was being attacked. So one was nationally blacklisting me, the next one raids me whenever they feel like, and then another one investigates me, but all of them claiming they're doing it for the same thing. The whole thing was just so bizarre and scary, it was unbelievable.
So you're somebody who's put his own life at risk in terms of working with some of the most dangerous criminals that UK has on the streets. You were loyal to your employers, Lewisham Council. You were helping the police reduce crime. Right. You were saving lives in terms of young people in our community. And at the same time, the sections of the Metropolitan Police Service were targeting you repeatedly on some pretext in order to find you guilty or fit you up with a charge or maliciously prosecute you. All of this resulting from you blowing the whistle on Joel Urhie?
Yeah, because I was told before to keep quiet. Like, don't upset people because people don't like what you're doing here. So I was warned before I even said anything. So when I then saw what was happening, that's why I said it was like a form of intimidation.
So you broke the code.
Yeah.
Don't talk.
Yeah.
Shut up. Keep quiet. So during that 3 months between when you were arrested initially and then when you were subject to that hard stop, were you working during that period of time?
Yeah, I was still moving people and working with victims and perpetrators. Everything was normal. After I went in for a voluntary interview, because that's something I want to make clear. After my house was raided the first time, I went in for a voluntary interview. What that means is I could have got up and left at any time. And after the voluntary interview, they then said, continue with your life. Nothing here. It was all superstition, whatever it is, substantial evidence or whatever. We'd got it wrong. The person we were looking for lived at that property 5 years ago. And I went about my business. 3 months after, I'm then being attacked again.
So you're being a loyal servant to the Metropolitan Police Service, the Lewisham Council, you're saving lives, you're reducing crime, and yet you're being employed and yet simultaneously attacked by the Metropolitan Police Service, who are seeking really to criminalise you, falsely malign you, and get you arrested on and presumably charged on false charges. And all of this because you whistleblew about the death of 7-year-old Joel Urhie.
Yeah. The thing that's changed so many times. I was first arrested on concern to do with drug dealing, meaning that I knew that my previous tenant that moved out 5 years ago was drug dealing. So that was my first thing when I was arrested. Then by the time I got to court, it's changed to something else, that I'm now perverting the cause of justice with intent And then the second charge was money laundering of my own money that was found in my own house that didn't belong to the previous tenants. So the whole thing was just bizarre.
How many times during that period you were bailed a number of times? How many times were you bailed?
9 times.
9 times.
9 times.
Absolutely outrageous.
Wow.
And in the same time that you were bailed for this 9 times, you subsequently went to court. Yeah. People can pick up more of these details in the other interviews, but the culmination is you were eventually charged with perverting the course of justice and money laundering for money, your own money that was found in your own house. Yeah. And it went to court most recently, and lo and behold, it didn't even get to a hearing because after 6 days of legal argument, they just threw the case out.
Yeah.
So you're a free man.
Yeah.
Your name has been cleared. It's not even not guilty because no charges were ever heard because the judge didn't think there was any evidence to hear in the first place. That's amazing. What's been the effects on yourself? Because in previous interviews, I know your health was very bad and you had to be taken to hospital.
Yeah, I was hospitalised twice with suspected heart attack because of all the stress that I was getting and everything else. And sometimes as a man, you try and fight through. But it comes a point where you can't take no more. When people that are meant to be protecting you are the ones attacking you, one thing happens, no one really wants to be around you because they're scared. And then the next thing, your family then starts getting affected. So then sooner or later, you're going to reach a breaking point. And that's what happened to me when I ended up in hospital. It was an absolute breaking point because they weren't going to stop at anything. I'm on the street, I'm being stopped in my car. It was like constant harassment. Come down to the police station, come here, rebail, with no explanation why I'm being rebailed. So you can't work, you can't really move about. And it was a lot. It was a lot. Nighttime, I'm looking outside my house, thinking, what, are they going to come raid me again? The postman knocks the door. You're thinking it's them again. Watching your cameras, your phone starts making funny noises. Next thing, my bank's calling me because they're breaking into my bank accounts. They're trying to get into all sorts of stuff. So it was just a lot. It was the attack was just all too much.
Because having been through something similar myself, people need to understand that they deep dived every aspect of your life to everything. Try and find something that would stick.
Yeah, and they found nothing. So all my electrical devices, my iPad, my laptop, my phones, my bank account, my taxes, my company books, everything you could think of, they went through and dug up everything. Pages, when we got to court, there was thousands of pages on everything. Who you got paid from, what day you got paid, what shop you spent this in. The whole thing was just forensic. And to sit there going through thousands of pages, it was a very stressful time, very stressful.
How did it affect your children and your wife?
My children, as I said, if the postman knocks the door, they're then scared. My children like, oh, Dad, are you coming back today? Because they think that the police just going to grab me and take me away. And that's my 8-year-old daughter saying that. And for an 8-year-old, she shouldn't be feeling that. And then you then have your partner thinking every time you leave the house, and they can't get through to you, that wonder if he's been snatched or arrested again for something else, because it was like they could just do whatever they want whenever they want. There was no stopping them. And that was the most scariest part of the whole thing.
How did you handle the mental stress? Because the other piece that people don't really realise is that you become virtually paranoid about everything and everybody. How are you handling that?
I just stopped going outside more so and just stayed in my house. I thought even though they could break in there whenever they felt like it, I was more safer in my house. Unless I was going out to see my therapist or having one-to-one with my GP or going swimming when I could. And even then I stopped going swimming because you're in the swimming pool, you're seeing any men swimming next to you thinking, wait a minute, are they their friends and that? Why are they waving at me or saying hello to me in the swimming pool? So the whole paranoia kicks in.
And you were taking therapy because of the mental stress at the time.
Yeah.
That's how badly it affected you.
Yeah, I'm still having counselling up to today, because even though the case is over, just to see that they were allowed to get away with what they got away with, it's a lot to deal with.
So you were traduced, you were traumatized, your family was affected. You even had your assets seized at one point when they were doing their deep dive financial forensic investigation.
Yeah.
And you reached out to numbers of people to try and help you, the Mayor's Office, Lewisham Council, your employer. Have these people checked on your welfare? Have they provided any duty of care to you?
Not one person. And that's the saddest part of it. And what hurts the most, you've got certain managers within the council that have been on more serious charges than this. We're talking sexual offences and all sorts, covering up murders for siblings. And this isn't anything on that scale. But no one thought, you know what, we're not even going to see if he's all right. But the minute that the result came out, wasn't it these same people trying to send me love hearts on social media? That's how sick these people are.
And your name was blacklisted nationally. I mean, you were a consultant that had a business that was working right across the country. And as a consequence of the first and second arrest, the Metropolitan Police actually phoned up all your clients and said, don't work with him, he's under arrest for serious charges, and you were blacklisted.
Funniest thing, I wasn't even arrested. This is the thing that they didn't tell everyone, that I wasn't the only property that was raided. There was 4 people raided the same day as me.
On the first raids?
On the first raid, there was 4 people raided. It wasn't just me, but I was the only one that suffered the national blacklisting, which, let's be honest, is still not lifted. Because now that the case is over, I'm contacting them and the Mayor's Office, and I'm like, come on now, what's going on? And everyone's saying, it's not me, and passing you to the next person. So are they going to lift it? When are they going to lift it? I don't know.
So here you are, having reformed your own life. You're a successful author, you're a successful consultant. You've saved lives beyond number, can't count. You've been fundamentally betrayed by your employer. You've been maliciously prosecuted by the police. And yet the whole tone and tenor of London and throughout the country is, we've got to work with black communities, we want a partnership with them, we want to have violence interrupters and consultants who help us, you know, work with these young men and violence. And yet your experience is one where you've been personally traduced, even though you've been serving the public good for all of this time. What do you think those implications are for people who work in this field?
First off, I'll start with this. Let's look at history. Crying Sons has been around probably the longest out of all independent organisations.
The Crying Sons is your organisation?
My organisation. So we've been around from 2007. The only other organisation that's probably been around as long is Gangs Line and Elevating Success. You will struggle to find other independent organisations that have lasted the test of time or delivering national contracts as to the level that I was delivering.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, you could see that the attack immediately was a financial attack, because that was the first thing that was targeted, was my organisation. So the whole thing was planned, because how did you know that I was in Wales doing work? How did you know that I was in Thames Valley doing work? How do you know that I was in Surrey doing work? How do you know I was in other places? It was like the whole thing was a big, massive operation that had nothing to do with the case. Because when we got to court, they didn't mention all of that stuff. It was like, oh, yeah, we done that, but that was a part of the collateral damage. It wasn't a part of the collateral damage. It all was synced in together. It was all a planned attack. So this was clearly bigger than what I was taken to court for. The thing was, it was massive.
What do you think the implications are for people who work in partnership with the police?
For me, I'm worried. I'm not going to lie to you, because after working for over 15 years doing this job at a senior level, on the ground, on the front line, and then I'm then subjected to this, I'm actually worried for other practitioners that don't know the risk that come along with this. And what I would say as a bit of advice is always cover yourself. Whatever you see that you don't think is right, send an email to yourself or somebody else, because when it goes wrong, everyone pretends that they've got selective amnesia, or they all get together and start throwing you under the bus. So for other practitioners, working in this field is very dangerous.
So what's the next steps in terms of where you go from here in seeking justice in relation to these issues?
Well, definitely going to have to claim for damages, because the damage that this has done to my reputation, it's going to take me at least 10 years to get back to where I was. At least 10 years. And even that might be even pushing it.
Optimistic.
Yeah, I understand. So when we look at that, definitely going for damages. The court's already offered to pay back my costs for me travelling all them days to court. The solicitors have already factored in all the costs and all the travel to the legal teams and all of that for the 2 years. So if the court and my solicitors are going to give me back my money for all my trips to them, why shouldn't the people that initially caused this problem on me in the first place not pay back? I've lost everything. The amount of debt they've put me in, tomorrow I'm going to collect my letters. So imagine, they've had my post and my bills for 2 years. So I'm in 2 years worth of debt with things that when I go, I'm checking, they're like, oh, you owe us this. Where's this come from? Where's the original one? Oh, the original one's with them people there.
With the mate.
You understand? And they're still thinking that, oh, I'm meant to just move on. I'm in some serious amounts of debt here, which had nothing to do with me in the first place. So the financial difficulty that they've put me into is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And then I'm going to need money to pay for therapy, because that's been coming out of my own pocket. How long am I going to need therapy for? So there's different things that need to be factored into this. It's not just a quick win here.
So let down by the system, despite delivering a public service and a public good. Family traumatized, you traumatized. Would you have faith and trust in the police or the system again?
Definitely, and I tell you why I say that, because even though this has happened to me, there's still some good officers out there that I've trained across the country that will risk their life to come out and protect people in the community. So I'm not going to say, because of the few people that think that they're above the law and they could get away with things, that we then tarnish everyone with the same brush. There are some good people out there within the system that want change. So I'm not going to use this isolated incident with me and my 2 years of trauma to then say, yeah, all of them are all bad, because that wouldn't be the truth.
So you think a rogue group of officers, small in number, were responsible for what happened to you, but you've had good relations with a wider number of officers who have not been engaged in that sort of behaviour. Well, Gwenton Sloley, I think that that's all we'll do for today. I'm sure we're going to come back to see you again, to hear more from you. It's been a delight talking to you. We're deeply honoured that you gave us an exclusive here on Lee Jasper's Drive Time. And I just want to make it absolutely clear for the viewers, this case was not heard because there was 6 days of legal arguments to justify the charges that were brought against you. And in those 6 days, the judge threw out every single argument that was brought forward by the Crown Prosecution Service and the police. So it's not that you were found not guilty, it's that there was no charge of substance to begin with, and that was proven by the judge saying no case to answer.
That's correct.
So Gwenton Sloley will be coming back to this story again and again, but for now, thank you very much for appearing on Lee Jasper Drive Time.
Thanks for having me. Blessings.